The Team America version of the Muppets. What? The Happytime Murders. Even the title of this movie sounds off. There's nothing happy about frickin' Murders, directed by Brian Henson, the son of the Muppet creator himself, Jim Henson. So the Happytime Murders tells the story set in a alternative universe where puppets and humans coexist, although not necessarily harmoniously, as humans call puppets inferior to humans. And Detective Phil Phillips unintentionally committed manslaughter in the past after he gunned down a innocent puppet while protecting his human detective partner Connie Edwards, and now after some puppet stars of a sitcom are sadly murdered, he and Connie must team up once again to protect the other cast members of the show from the murderer. Can you believe Brian Henson also directed Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island? You think Happytime Murders would be a little more cheerful? Oh, and guys, did you meet Patty? She is my puppet pal for this review. She joined me for my Muppet Christmas Carol review, and here as she returns, hey, and lovely to meet you all. Oh, thanks, Patty. Yeah, as for my thoughts on Happytime Murders, everybody's calling this movie Brian Henson's worst movie yet. It's a panned flop, and nobody is liking it. As for me, while this is a weak movie, it's not that bad, nor will it make my top 10 worst movies of 2018. It's just a step in the wrong direction for Brian Henson. So this review isn't all negative. I still have some positives for this movie. Since this movie's directed by Brian Henson, you're aware going into it for sure that the puppetry in this movie is the shit. It is freaking awesome. The Brian Henson never disappoints when it comes to puppetry and animating the puppets and voice acting the puppets to fully convince us that they belong in this and exist in this world. And the cast in this movie weren't so bad either. Phil Phillips is a hard. And the cast in this movie weren't so bad either. Phil Phillips is a hardcore detective who suffered a loss. And once he's hired again, he's determined to overcome that shit and show that he is a capable detective. And Melissa McCarthy as Connie Edwards, she is totally the greatest of the human characters in this movie. But I did like her a little more in Life of the Party earlier this year. And in a movie full of underwhelming comedy, her lines and humour were tolerable. And some of you may think I'm too generous to Melissa McCarthy, but she's awesome. And also this red-haired puppet who's flirty with Phillips. She's sweet, likeable, and gorgeous. She took my mind off all of this movie's issues, but where the Happytime Murders went wrong, this brings us to the negatives now. This movie is nothing like the Muppets. I get that it isn't a Muppet movie, and it's its own thing, and Brian Henson was attempting to take take puppets in a more mature direction. Although that doesn't work for him, as his work with the Muppets was never established as a black comedy to begin with. This movie is the Muppets rated R, and nobody would want to sit down to that. I was insecure. I was insecure throughout this movie. I was like, Brian Henson, what were you thinking, directing this? This is a bad original idea for the future of puppetry. Puppets that were manufactured by the Henson family, saying fucking shit and fucking and blasting one another and doing drugs. That's offensive to the entire Muppet fan base. I know, right, Harry? And do you agree the comedy sucks? Yep. I'm okay with an R-rated take on something family-friendly, that's what we have South Park for, that's what Meet the Feebles established in Team America, but they did R-rated comedy infinitely better than Happytime Murders ever did. Happytime Murders failed as it plays the R-rated comedy safe, so there's nothing to marvel at about this movie. Oh yeah, and Harry, did you want to mention that disgusting moments? Worst comedic moments in Happytime Murders is where Phil and the red hairs lady, they are literally fucking, and all of a sudden literally sperm is shooting out of Phil's dick and spraying the office windows while the cops enter, and I was like, what the fuck? Brian Henson, were you planning a Muppet Pornhub when you wrote that scene, or were you planning a Muppet Pornhub when you directed that sequence or something? What? And the soundtrack contains no wonderful songs which the Henson studio are most well known for including in their movies. And yeah, Harry, can you imagine what Jim Henson's reaction would be if he saw this movie? Yep. He'd have some harsh words for Brian, so next time, Brian, just stick with the Muppets. Brian Henson drops the ball here. This may be my least favourite movie from him yet, so this may not be a disgrace, but it's a uncomfortable movie. It's certainly a movie that my mum isn't comfortable with checking out, neither am I. Although stay for the credits, folks, as the end credits that is the best parts, seeing the puppetry in the behind the scenes. I give the Happytime Murders 2 stars out of 5 meh movie. Thank you so much for having me on your channel today, Harry. See you around, everybody. Oh, thank you ever so much, Patty. Well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And what do you think of Happytime Murders? Please comment and let me know. Please like the video and subscribe. Please follow on Twitter and on Google Plus and on Instagram. And I'll see you next time when I review The Nun and Predator. And remember, movies are us. Bye, guys.